This week on episode 293 of the Cinema Psycho Show, we're diving into the Thanksgiving classic Dutch, starring Ed O'Neill and Ethan Embry.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh, my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Kyneton, joined by my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
Planes, trains, and automobiles, if it was from wish.com.
Oh, come on, man.
Hot take.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, man. Like, I've been waiting a while to review this movie. Like,
I think the last 37 years.
Not the last 37 years. 38.
Yeah, that's how long we've been doing this show, I think.
Yeah, it feels like it sometimes.
Yeah.
No, I've been waiting to review this movie for quite a while. And, honestly, we tried to do, what was it? I think this is we tried to do it last year. It didn't work out. The year before.
Yeah, at least 2 years.
2 years.
Something's happened where we haven't been able to do this.
Yeah, we're on episode 293. 293. 93, is it 93? Yeah, 293. And in honor of Thanksgiving, I wanted to review the movie Dutch.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You know what else is great about Thanksgiving, John? Is getting COVID. Because I didn't tell you this. I got the COVID again.
Oh, that's fun. I'm glad we're in separate rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, let me tell you something. The holidays are really ripe for the COVID season. That's what we should call it then, the COVID season. Because, it hit me. Fortunately, I'm on the back half of it, hence why I'm able to, talk, and I don't sound like a gargly mess. But unfortunately, the whole family is down for the count with the illness of some kind. Lauren definitely has it, but yeah, the other kids they've got it. So holidays.
Should make a big meal tomorrow. A lot of fun.
I mean, we're doing the throwback to the COVID Thanksgivings. You remember that? When you would travel and drop off food at people's doorsteps and be like, "Hey, I can't be around you." So yeah, that's what we're doing. Although I am cooking the turkey, so all the fire will kill off the virus.
I'm doing
there you go.
I'm doing Cornish game hens.
Really?
Yeah. Which I know
I do the
it's
smoked
chicken,
turkey, man.
It's not turkey. Yeah.
I mean, who gives a shit? If you did Thanksgiving and you're like, I did Big Macs and Whoppers, I wouldn't care. That's you do you.
I had hot dogs and spaghetti. It's my fucking Thanksgiving. Suck my dick.
That's like, I have no friends and family Thanksgiving. You don't even have Friendsgiving at that rate. You just have,
I have had a friend that sent me a photo of his ramen noodles.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, not unlike our one of our characters in tonight's film, Dutch is the story of Ed O'Neill, who plays a version of his Ted Bundy character. That's what I would say.
Oh, you mean Al Bundy?
Oh, Al Bundy. Oh my God. Well, we are recording this at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I'm going to claim COVID brain on that one. Yes, his Al Bundy character, a version of that for the big screen. And ultimately, the plot of this is Al Bundy is punching way above his class in terms of dating. Way above there.
I think this woman is like one of the first honest, genuine men that she's met and just went, oh, okay. Like, have you ever seen one of those like beautiful women you knew from high school or college who dated very good looking men that treated them like shit their entire lives, and you lose track of them for a long time, and then you see their wedding photos and their husband is like pretty hideous, but you're like, oh wait, this is the first guy that's ever treated her with respect. That's why they're married.
Yeah. No, either that or it's like yeah, you know what? I married for looks the first time, and then well, that didn't work out too well. And of course, that's kind of what happened because she was married to Shooter
The
McGavin.
Shooter McGavin. Yeah.
Shooters, shooters, gotcha. Which
I don't even
Of
know that
course.
poor man's real name.
I don't either. Like I think he probably should just change his name right now to Shooter.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, Shooter McGavin's in it, and he's very much playing the same character as he does in every movie.
You know, he just has one of those faces. And look, I don't know the man. I'm sure he's a wonderful fella in real life, but he just has one of those faces that is just king douche.
He's got kind of a face you want to punch,
Oh yeah. Yeah, very, very, very punchable face. And like,
which is
he's a-
foreshadowing this movie.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Shooter McGavin is just he's a dick. And you know, as I said, like Dutch's girlfriend, played by Jo Beth Williams of Poltergeist fame, is, you know, kind of a fish out of water in this very like wealthy, you know, just douchebag mentality, which honestly, like, I think that's not real. Like, I've met people who have crap tons of wealth, and they don't at all seem like this. Now, does that mean that there aren't some truth to it? Yeah, I think there are. There's some, like, you know, a lack of understanding of like real people and real problems, but to be kind of as stereotypical as like these women that are talking to Jo Beth in the beginning of the movie are, that doesn't really happen ever.
Considering I'm guessing that John Hughes grew up upper middle class and then became a millionaire from being a filmmaker, he certainly seems to have a hard time realistically writing rich people, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Maybe he can't look inward enough, but you know, I'll say this: I don't like John Hughes. I don't like him as a person. I don't like a lot of the themes and motifs that he puts in his movies. I mean, 16 Candles, a woman gets raped in it, and she says, "You know what? I think I probably liked it." And I'm like, this guy is a bad person.
Yeah.
But I can't deny the fact that he is prolific. I mean, the guy wrote a shit ton of stuff in a very short window of time. So I'm not saying that makes him good. I'm saying he's prolific. And I have to admit, we're doing this with video, and I'm wearing an Abe Froman shirt, which is from Ferris Bueller. So I'm wearing John Hughes merchandise.
The Sausage King of Chicago?
Yes, indeed. Um, but but that doesn't, if you're very prolific, that, you know, you got to cut a couple of corners every once in a while. I mean, Home Alone 2 is just Home Alone 1 again. And I have to say, Dutch, while it certainly had its moments, he just took the skeleton for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and he replaced John Candy with a little boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think that John Candy was the little boy in this one. But because obviously the little boy's a fucking little shit, you know, kind of through most of the movie.
Oh, sure. I just mean like the person that's the tag along to our protagonist. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just change it from this happy-go-lucky middle-aged man into the biggest piece of shit little rich kid you ever seen in your life.
Richie Rich if he was a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's basically it.
He didn't have a McDonald's in his house, so he's a prick.
He had a Taco Bell.
Oh, can you imagine?
Yeah, I can. I can't imagine. Yeah, but I mean, to be fair though, you know, I don't think he knows how to write rich people, excuse me. But I do think that he has a message in this that he's trying to get across. And you know, I do think he has a lot of contempt for wealthy people. Gotta also understand, like, this movie took place in 1991, so it was probably filmed in 1990 in the middle of a recession, like a recession that took out a lot of wealth from the economy. So that's probably where his brain's coming at in this film. I think, and I'd be curious to see if he himself dealt with kind of the dynamics of a blended family, because a lot of this, you kind of get the feeling that that he knows a little bit too much about, like, stepsons not liking you, like or just the what happens in a divorced family, and what those dynamics are. Because I speak about this from my own personal experience. I came from a divorced family. I married into a family where there were where there are kids, and I did see some parallels, obviously not to the nth degree, but I did see a lot of parallels in this film to experiences that I've had with my own stepsons. Thankfully, not nearly as bad as in this, but
you never duct tape them to a hockey stick?
no, I never did. But all I'm saying is, like, I can see some parallels there, and I wonder if either John Hughes or the director of this film, because John Hughes, he produced it, he didn't direct this movie, as he did with a lot of movies in the '90s. He kind of was just the producer of them. But I wonder if some of those real, like, situations were added into this, or real feelings were brought into this that made Dutch what it is.
I mean, probably. I mean, when you look at Christmas Vacation, or I'm not sorry, not the first one, just Vacation, that was taken from an article he had written, I think, for the National Lampoon, or a short story, I should say, not an article, about his experiences, growing up, taking family vacations. And I mean, I'm sure he took a hell of a lot of liberties for yucks, but they say write what you know, and I think that's why most of John Hughes movies are about upper middle class to the poor level of rich people and the expensive part of Chicago complaining about how hard it is to be rich.
Yeah. But in essence, what Dutch does is he tries to be the good guy and pick up his girlfriend's son, because his girlfriend's son is basically, he's, as mentioned, he's kind of richy rich without the McDonald's, and
he's the biggest piece of shit I've ever
seen. He's a
though.
really big piece of shit. Like, really, you don't like this kid.
I mean, it's almost over the top how he's written, because like almost every single thing he says is like almost a cartoonish version of what we imagine rich people are like.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, when he mentions Al Bundy's cheap shoes, and I'm like, who else said that? Hannibal Lecter about Clarice Starling. That's how over the top this kid is.
You know what? If they set this movie back, like, maybe 30, 40 years rather than modern time, it could have been the prequel to Silence of the Lambs.
Little tiny Hannibal at his
little tiny school. Hannibal. Why are you so fucked up? Well, you know what? My mother's boyfriend tried to take me home from my rich person's boarding school, and the experience made me desire human flesh and cognac and fava beans.
Yeah. See, I just imagine like a little tiny Anthony Hopkins as he looks in Silence of the Lambs, but no, like a schoolboy outfit, like Geddy Lee wore.
Yeah. It just, his roommate comes up. He like, hey, Lecter. Yes. What do you want, Jimmy? Your mom's on the phone. I don't have a ma. I have a mother.
Was she a farmer?
Was she a farmer? Yeah. So I imagine that would be this. But yeah, he's a little shit. He doesn't want to go home for Thanksgiving because he's obsessed with his father, Shooter McGavin. And yeah, he's expecting that his dad is gonna, be a decent human being. But again, he's Shooter McGavin. It's not there. So instead,
the first scene we see Shooter McGavin is, I think I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I think he had "I'm a human piece of shit" Sharpied on his forehead.
He literally walks into the house. He literally walks. No, you're right. He walks into the rich person house, which we don't know whose house it is. I mean, I don't know if it's Joe Beth Williams' house or whoever. But he walks into this party and he's just like immediately, haha, I've got a giant penis made out of money. And he just like touches some girl's back just randomly. He just acts like he's, yes, I'm what's his face Standish and I run this place. And it's like, dude, you're Shooter, okay? You don't run shit. Reed Standish, excuse me.
This is the same time. This is the second time he's used the name Standish. I think that Molly Ringwald's character, her last name in Breakfast Club is Standish.
Of course.
So
Of course
he seems to like that name.
Yeah. But yeah, Dutch decides to make the trek up and pick up Doyle. That's the little shit. Doyle. And yeah, I don't know why he thinks this is a good idea. And like, in what mind he thinks like, oh yes, the little kid who doesn't like his mother at all is kind of an overwhelming fucking asshole to her on the phone, that it's going to be a good idea for him to just like, pick him up and drive him back.
I mean, I think he sees just how at a loss his lady is, and he's trying to make her happy for the holidays. And I think in his mind, he's at least hoping that maybe, he can spend some time in the car with this kid and find some common ground. I think he even says that, like, there's nobody I've gone on a car trip with that we didn't end up friends afterwards.
That's incredibly naive.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, that's incredibly naive. One, you can't put someone in a confined space and say, hey, we're going to be friends now. It's not how it works. Like that's the opposite. It takes time. Now, granted, the movie can't show us that, so it puts us in this ridiculous situation of, yes, we're gonna do this road trip, and in the end of the road trip, this kid's gonna have a more profound respect for his mother, and not hate Ed O'Neill nearly as much. That's the movie. Honestly, like, that's the whole film. But I guess realistically, it doesn't make any sense, and that might be why some of the criticism is that this is kind of naive and doesn't seem like it would fit for the emotional tones they're trying to hit.
Well, see, here's what I think one of the biggest problems I have with this movie is that they went too far in with the little boy just being the most aristocratic, avaristic, soulless piece of shit you've ever seen in your life.
Tell me what you really think about him, John.
Well, I mean, he sucks. He's written to suck, suck and blow. but it's almost impossible to redeem a character like that for anybody. And I know, Brian, you're not one of them, but for anybody out there that's watched The Walking Dead, when they decided that Negan was no longer a bad guy and they were going to make him part of the good guy, like, it's almost like he just had a 180 character switch overnight. And this film, like, the kid goes from being borderline sociopathic to a couple of things happening to him where he goes, I'm an okay person now. And I'm like, it's not earned. It's not earned.
No, it's not. It's not earned at all. And honestly, like, each one of these little situations, and that's what I call it, are little tiny situations that they all go through. They don't add up to the arc, right? Like, whenever we look at a movie and you look at a character, oftentimes there's an arc that they go through. And unfortunately, with this movie, you have these situations that occur to the characters, but they don't really, like, evolve because of it. Like, we'll get through each one of these little situations because I think it's worth, like, mentioning how they start off kind of, inane and go up to, like, 11. But, like, the first situation is, Dutch just showing up at Doyle's, dorm room, which I gotta say, like, in pre 9/11 times, security was crazy laxed. Don't you think?
Oh, I mean, this movie, is the early 90s, but, like, if you even just go back to, like, the 70s, like, yeah, I'm not surprised there were so many fucking serial killers because it was fucking easy to do it,
Well, like, he walks right up, this perfect stranger walks right up to Doyle's dorm room and walks right in. There's no security guard. There's no anything. It's just, I'm going to walk right straight in, and yeah, that's it. And I'm going to stand in the middle of his room. If that happened to me when I was in college, I also would have been freaked out. So, like, at that point, I understood exactly why Doyle was like, I'm going to kick the shit out of this guy, because It's a perfect fucking stranger in your room.
Yeah, that wasn't out of he wasn't out of line for that. He was protecting himself because he probably thought he was just about to get like taken to the Pound Town right in his butt cheeks. So good for him for defending his ass.
Good for him for defending
Literally
his ass
defending his ass
and his mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that situation ends up, he's kicking the shit out of Dutch, and which, when I saw this movie and came out in 91, so I probably saw it in 92. I saw this when I was like 6 years old. I cracked up, not gonna lie, during that whole sequence. I also find it hilarious that, again, this is pre 9/11, you can just carry a pellet gun in your dorm room, no problem. That looks like an actual gun.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? This is, you know what? It's like the slingshot. Every kid had one in their dorm room.
I think it also is, now granted, this is a bourgeois boarding school, private school, so it wouldn't be this case, but I was in an art class in undergrad with a kid who said, like, and he grew up in the middle of nowhere, that said they would often bring in their rifles to school.
What?
Because one of the wood shop or engineering kind of level type teachers like knew how to fix guns, and like they would like work on the guns in the school. And I'm like,
in like high school?
Yeah, he was a non-trad, like he wasn't like super old, but I think like when he was talking about taking guns into school was pre-Columbine when he was doing it.
I was gonna say
like,
you couldn't do that now.
Yeah, but I'm like, God damn, like it was a different world, different time, and also I guess it's also where you grow up, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I never, like, even like with the ROTC folks, they never. I don't think they ever used guns. The biggest thing was like they walked around in their like like uniform stuff, but they never walked around with a gun, like even before Columbine. So, but that's bizarre. But yeah, I mean, I guess that first sequence, he says, "Oh yeah, you gotta come with me," and the little shit says no, and so what do you do when you have some kid who doesn't want to go with you? You tie him up to a hockey stick, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
And again, walking out in the open with a kid tied to a hockey stick, no one says a fucking word.
I mean, is this not technically kidnapping? This is a crime.
Yes. No, that is a crime. That you're right. That's kidnapping. Now, obviously, like, if cops were called, all he would have to do is like get his mom on the phone. But I'm pretty sure the minute the mom heard, "Oh, what did Dutch do? He put my son on a hockey stick with underwear jammed into his mouth, his hands tied to it, and walked out and tried to put him in the car." I don't think that it would like end well for Dutch at all. I don't think that his mother would say, "Oh yeah, that's cool. No worries."
She probably would have been blissfully naive. She would have been like, "Oh, that's what working class people do."
Well, his mom's not one of those. She just married into the money. Like she never was. She said herself that she was a cocktail waitress at a country club who got knocked up by Shooter McGavin because he's Shooter McGavin.
He shoots and he gets it in the hole every time.
Pow. Yeah. So but he gets in the hole every time. God damn it, John. Seeing you on the camera is not helping me to keep my composure. But anyway, yeah, like everything in this screams like psychopath from Dutch. He comes off like a crazy person.
Though, I mean, like, is that really any different than like other John Hughes movies? Like, I think because I don't know, I first saw like Home Alone when I was 5, but like the actions of Kevin in that movie, like he's a psychopath.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess in the first one you could justify it that he's like, oh, he needs to defend his house instead of just calling the police. But but especially the second one where he lures him into his death trap.
Well, I mentioned to you on Facebook Messenger before we started recording, I said that there is a very fine line between Kevin McAllister and the good son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I think there's a reason why Macaulay Culkin was so good in The Good Son. It's because he got practice in Home Alone. If you haven't seen The Good Son, it's actually a really good movie. Like, if you want primo 90s melodrama that's above, like, say, a Lifetime movie, you got to watch A Good Son.
It's got Elijah Wood in there too.
It's got
Good shit.
Elijah Frodo pre Lord of the Rings. It's really good. But yeah, I just think that he's a psychopath. I think the Dutch is a psychopath. I think that Kevin's a psychopath in Home Alone. Because everything is like go to the nth degree with him. You can't just like have a measured response. Now, obviously, yes, Doyle's a fucking shit. And does some things that I'm just like, that's jerky. Like he burns his nuts with a cigarette lighter at one point in the movie.
Yeah. While he's driving too.
While
He
he's
puts
driving,
himself
like
in
that's
danger.
dangerous. Like
Yeah.
that's a dangerous thing. I can understand why you would be mad, but the reaction that Dutch has is, I'm going to leave you on the side of the road and tell you to walk 50 miles in the snow. I had to watch it. I was watching it again last night, and I had to stop and rewind. Old person rewind. And listen back to what he says. So the first I'm like, did he say 15 miles? No, he said 50 miles. So the hotel is 50 miles.
It's amazing the kid didn't die of exposure.
Well, you would.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. If it, first of all, I was like, how long would it take to walk 50 miles in the snow, or just 50 miles in general? And I think it's somewhere to the realm of like 16 to 17 hours. So like he would be dead. And that's 16 to 17 hours nonstop.
I mean, I know what the movie's trying to do. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm working class Al Bundy, and you're a rich kid who's never had to like work a day in his life. You got the smoothest hands ever, no calluses there. Like, I'm gonna make you like survive.
But he's
you're
a
gonna have to
child.
yeah. Yes.
Like I get his point, but at the same time, that's a kid. And one that's not even just a random kid. That's a kid that you more than likely are going to be related to. He even says, he's like, yeah, we're going to be related to by legal marriage at some point. So like your first like reaction to this kid is, I'm going to leave you on the side of the road for dead and hope that you walk back in the snow. Like, I get he's upset and I get he's angry, but that just seems like dark. Like,
Yeah.
I would have been surprised. I would have, and again, like at the time when I watched this movie, I didn't ever think about this. I'm like, oh yeah, well fuck that kid. But at the same time, going like watch it now, you can't do that. Like that doesn't make me root for you. And that's part of the problem with this movie. Is that for every scene that there's like something good that happens in it, and you're like, oh yeah, I really like this character. Dutch is a nice guy. He does these things. Leaves a 13-year-old on the side of the road in the middle of the winter and says, walk your ass back to the hotel.
And meanwhile, when the kid finally does get to the hotel, because it's a movie, and so he didn't die or get kidnapped. Because he hitchhikes, right? Like he gets there.
Oh no, he didn't even hitchhike. He walks.
Okay,
he didn't hitchhike.
Maybe they did say 15 miles.
No,
Still, that's a hell of a trek.
Well, he said 50, and it could very well be that maybe at some point they filmed extra stuff to show that Doyle was able to hitchhike. But I mean, at the same time, even if it was 15 miles, it's still a long way to walk.
Yeah,
for a kid at all.
Well,
And I don't root for that character who does that.
Well, when he finally gets to the hotel, Ed O'Neill's there in his fucking boxers, like reading Newsweek, watching Rescue 911, playing with his pud, like just like not a care in the world. I
love how you hit like all of the 90 tropes right there. Yeah. Rescue 911. Of course you had to pull that one. But
came on right before Siskel and Ebert.
It did. Personally, I was watching Unsolved Mysteries back then. So that was
good.
That was my jam. That's my jam.
I love watching the old, not sidebar. I love watching the old ones, like from like the mid 80s. Oh God, they're beautiful.
There's one with Matthew McConaughey in it. Did you know that?
Oh snap! No.
Oh shit! Yeah, this one is great. This has nothing to do with the movie Dutch, by the way, but it's just a great thing. There is an episode of Unsolved Mysteries in which Matthew McConaughey gets, I think he gets shot like multiple times by another character, and it's supposed to like be a reenactment of an actual murder. But yeah, he does it in the most Matthew McConaughey way. He does it in like, yeah. He's supposed to be like, of course, taking place in Texas, so he's got the whole Texas accent going on, and he's just like, he gets shot a couple times, doesn't die. You realize like Matthew McConaughey is acting his ass off in this. He's gonna make those 15 seconds that he's in Unsolved Mysteries last. Oh man, yeah, it's really good.
He's gonna get that SAG card, motherfucker.
That's how he probably got it. That's probably how he got it. You were in Unsolved Mysteries.
Quentin Tarantino got his from the Golden Girls.
Of course.
There was a bunch of Elvis reenactors at their house.
Yeah.
And he was the only one that did not do Vegas Elvis. He did early Elvis.
Oh, okay.
And because he was in that scene dancing as Elvis, he got a SAG card.
There you go.
Anyways, Dutch.
Now, obviously, there's outside of the leave the kid on the side of the fucking road and walk. There's a couple other scenes that kind of are famous for this movie. The fireworks scene is one of the ones that this movie's known for,
Which is kind of like, I get it as like a character scene, but like, what purpose does it really serve to the movie at all?
to be silly. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a silly scene. It's let's see how ridiculous Ed O'Neill can be. And I was actually, I think I was watching a interview he did at the time, and he said that fireworks scene was kind of improvised. Like the whole thing was improvised.
Makes sense. Yeah. Set up like 3 cameras, have one handheld, one wide block down, one close up block down. Yeah. Just let Ed O'Neill set up fireworks and improv. Yeah.
Again, I kind of find it hilarious that he just says, we're going to go down to some random spot on the side of the road in the middle of the night and light up fireworks.
I think that might have been a real place, because I read in doing my notes for this episode that like they did the trek, like John Hughes, the director of the film,
yeah,
maybe Ed O'Neill, but probably a couple producers, like they got on a road trip from where they start to where they end, and I think that they were looking for actual landmarks on the way that they could shoot at.
Yeah.
You know. And I wonder if that like big fireworks, whatever.
Well, the fireworks stand is a real place. Yes, that was 100% a real place.
And they were like, "Holy shit, here we go!"
Yeah. No, it was. But what I mean is like the whole idea of we're gonna go to some random person's property and light off fireworks in the middle of the night. Again, cops will be called immediately.
Not when you're rich, Brian.
Well. Doesn't matter. I'm talking about like anyone else were to, if I were to go to say in front of your apartment, John, and start lighting off fireworks, one, aside from the fact that you would come out and join in. But I'm just saying,
like,
if you didn't know me and you just saw a rando just lighting fireworks off, you'd be like, I'm calling the cops because this is kind of, dangerous and I don't know who this person is. So the fact that this asshole just lights off fireworks in some random person's property and that's it, there's no like repercussions from it. I mean, there is repercussions from it because he has an amazing explosion. But it just made no sense to me why he just finds a random piece of property and just lights off fireworks.
This scene stressed me the fuck out because, like, look, I love fireworks and I'm usually the person in control of them. And you're getting old when the whole time I'm like, why is the bag of fireworks inches from the ones you're setting off?
Yeah, you're getting old, man. You
Yeah,
get super old then.
And granted, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie because, like, until this year, one of the problems that I had run into is that this was like not streaming anywhere, and I don't know how or why this movie just kind of got lost to the ether. But thankfully, I think like HBO Max, was that who had it?
Yeah, it was HBO Max. Yeah, you're right.
They had it this year. We're not paid by HBO Max.
No, we're not.
Well, clearly because we're calling it HBO Max.
Because we will continue to call HBO Max because calling it Max is fucking stupid.
Yeah. But what is the fucking point I'm trying to, oh yes, yeah, is that it has been years since I had seen this, and so I had forgotten about that he sets off all these fireworks and destroys his coat. So I'm just watching this, I'm going, you motherfucker, those are too close, the fireworks you're setting off. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, plus
So.
he has no idea what any of the fireworks are. Like he doesn't know how to operate them. Like he just like if you've got some that are just spinning and flying all over the place, like the man literally is the example of why there are fireworks laws in place.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a funny scene. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying like people are gonna be like, oh well, Brian, why are you being so doom and gloom about this? Like I'm not. I'm saying it's a funny scene. I'm just saying like when you go back and watch this, some things don't make any fucking sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like here's the film. We meet our main characters. We get our setup, like, our call to action in the script. Dutch has got to go pick up the kid. And then we get a bunch of segments of haha segments. And then we get the kid's sudden turn and the end.
Oh, well, I want to get to the turn because there's one thing that they all bonded over, and that's women.
Well, yeah, that the little kid wanted to fucking bang a homeless girl.
No. I mean, like, what brings them together, and I realized this as I was watching this last night, and I almost messaged you about it as I was like, this. Am I reading this correctly? That horniness is what brought these two together.
Yep.
Because
you know what?
It's true.
It turns out they both like the poontang.
They both like the poontang. That is what brought Dutch and Doyle together, was their love of women.
Well, I think it's also supposed to be that that the little kid, Ethan Embry. Can't remember
Ethan Embry.
What's his character? I don't know, man. But
Doyle. Doyle's his character.
Doyle. That's right. Yeah. Is that he sees how the other half lives after he has been emotionally crippled by the fact that his father was not gone on business, but actually just banging a bitch. And he wanted to bang this bitch more than be with his son at Thanksgiving. So that, like,
I mean, he is
up.
Shooter McGavin. What do you expect?
Yeah. And so yeah, he has that, and then he sees that there are people who are homeless in the world, and all of a sudden, immediately, he's a good person.
Well, I mean, in terms of like becoming a good person, that's what helped. But what I mean is like what the turn that caused him not to hate Dutch as much. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. is that they both are perverts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was it. Dutch gets the racy playing cards, and that's like the whole thing where he's like, holy shit, naked women, that's awesome. And then of course with the whole prostitute thing, when he says like, yeah, I was a little horny. Oh, you were? Oh, it's really awesome.
Well, yeah,
we bonded over that.
Yeah, because there's a scene like in the hotel where like the kid's like looking at the racy playing cards and kind of giving himself a little side rub under the bed bug infested blankets, and Ed O'Neill's like, "Atta boy,
yeah,
rub it hard, boy."
It's really off putting because I'm just like, that's,
you're human after all.
Is this how we're bonding? Like it's like, why don't you have a scene where he just pulls out his Dutch's dirty magazine collection that he keeps in the backseat of his car? Why aren't you just doing that? Because that's in essence what we're doing here.
I mean, I guess like if we wanted to be, if I was John Hughes in the room, I would say it showed Ed O'Neill that there's a human side to this kid, that he has desires, like anyone else. He has carnal needs and wants, that he's more than just a walking billboard for "Don't you know who my father is?"
It just feels icky.
Oh, it is icky. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah.
But I hadn't realized it, John, honestly, until I was rewatching. I'm just like, wait a minute. is the bonding moment that these two kind of all have is that they're both horn dog fuckers. Like that's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's what the whole relationship's based on. Because I'm going like, when Doyle grows up, he is gonna need a shit ton of fucking therapy. Speaking of which, I do want to talk a bit about the whole prostitute scene. Which it's funny, in the sense that like they tried to like skirt around saying the word prostitute, and like, Ethan Embry, Doyle thinks he's gonna get some from Brock. We're like, dude, that woman is like 25.
It was the early 90s. I think if he paid enough money.
I was just gonna say it was funny that E.G. Daily uses cream, like hand cream, to try to get Dutch's pinky ring off his finger, and basically like squirts the cream into his mouth, which isn't, dirty at all.
Which is the reverse of how it probably should be.
Oh, God damn it.
For those that don't know the name E.G. Daily, that's Tommy Pickles from Rugrats.
That is Tommy Pickles.
Amongst many other voice actors.
Oh my God. She has done so many different voice acting roles. She also did the music for the movie Better Off Dead. As well as Scarface. She did I'm Hot Tonight in Scarface.
Yeah. I'm hot tonight. Which is so weird because you can hear, if you really listen, you can hear Tommy Pickles singing as a woman, and it's kind of upsetting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's the most confused boner I've ever had.
Yeah. I've confused boner. It's like, I have to stop watching this now. I have this desire to watch Rugrats. I don't know why. But
we all know the smoking one is Angelica's mom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she's all pent up. She had a cell phone way before any of us did, so yeah. She needs to release.
Stu's not giving it to her.
Yeah.
Well, not Stu. Yeah, that wasn't Stu. That was
it was his brother.
It was his brother.
Not Stu.
Not Stu.
Look, it's been many years since Brian and I've seen Rugrats.
It has been a long time. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I tried to get my daughter to watch Rugrats, and she wasn't into it. I blame YouTube for that one. As I'm recording something that's going to go on YouTube. But yeah. After that, basically, Dutch and Doyle kind of get left with their dicks in their hands, quite literally, because their money gets stolen. Which I find it so laughable that Dutch's plan was, I'm going to pretend to not have any cash, and pretend that we're going to have to hitchhike, because we forgot to mention this, that after the whole like hotel scene, Doyle like takes Dutch's car for a joyride and crashes it into a semi truck.
Yep. And that was like he's like, the only time I had any respect for you is when you lied and coerced your way out of like being arrested. Like, oh, so this kid is a legit psychopath.
Yeah, no, he is. Like, he is. So that's why they were hitching rides with prostitutes anyway, was because he had crashed and destroyed the car. Because, I mean, granted, like, I understand that Dutch had left him on the side of the road for dead, but maybe don't do that, because then you have no way of getting home.
Oh, and I think we need to mention this as well, is that you can't have a character in a John Hughes written movie that isn't rich, because the kid even says it's like, you're some bum, blue collar bum who's just gonna marry my mom so he can inherit all her money, and he's like, I'm rich too, but I earned my money,
He's rich in a different way. He builds stuff. He owns a construction company.
Yeah,
which is fine.
So he's probably upper middle class. He's not rich like the woman he's dating, but yeah, upper middle class.
I would say probably like medium-sized business owner. you know,
Yeah, a few $100,000 a year, which is ain't nothing to scoff at.
nothing to scoff at. And honestly, in 1991, that went a long way.
Mhm.
Nowadays, not so much. But back then, long way with that money. But yeah. So he's not a pauper by any stretch of the imagination, but he clearly is someone who grew up working class and has, this thing called a work ethic.
Well, his dad was a
And-
bricklayer,
Yeah.
and his mom was a nurse or something. I can't remember, but
Something along those lines.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's why they're hitchhiking, is because they don't have a car, it's destroyed. But now they really are poor and really are, without any means. It's so funny how you couldn't really make this movie nowadays because cell phones, like right there, cell phones, the ability to wire money directly to you from like Cash App or Venmo, like you really that wouldn't work.
Well, for anybody that's watching this in like May, you must be a fan of Dutch. Is that we recorded this the night before Thanksgiving 2023.
Yeah.
And before we started recording, I rewatched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I watch it every Thanksgiving Eve. And all I could think was, man, this film like did it better. And and the whole like losing all your money thing, like I mean, like that movie did it better. So I don't know.
I just don't think you could do it nowadays. I don't think you would have to take their wallet, their cell phone,
oh yeah. And
all ways of communication for them.
Yeah, sorry. To finish my point, because like I kind of lost it there for a second, was the whole time I'm watching this, like his wife is like just so worried because she doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what's going on. And Brian, you mentioned how we couldn't make that movie today. Like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, like, if you, and I mean the royal you, anybody out there were screwed over by travel, just text and call your wife or Facebook her or Twitter her, DM her on Twitter, whatever, all day long, every day. Like, I see like Steve Martin is just like, on a bus for hours on end. He has no way of contacting his wife. Like, and it's weird. Like we take for granted just how easy we have it now. And like how I'm like, God, if Planes, Trains, and Automobiles had just come out today, how much like simpler this whole process could have been for him, especially when he was like 2 hours out from his wife. He could have just texted her, hey, can you come pick me up? I'm at this location. Google the address and come pick me up. Because I even saw an article, like speaking of John Hughes, it was like 50 different reasons that Home Alone couldn't be made today because of technology.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's 100% true. I mean, the thing is that you would have to bake into the plot some sort of reason why the technology doesn't work, right? Like
horror movies do that all the time.
Oh
now,
yeah, like Cabin in the Woods. They were like, oh the cell signal is not working. So right off the bat, it's like, well, the cell phone's not going to work because cell towers are down. So you have to put some sort of reasoning in there why your modern technology doesn't work, because it does. You're right, John. Like it kind of usurps all of the catastrophes that would make the plot move forward.
With the 2018 Halloween movie, like, Laurie Strode's granddaughter was like, saw her boyfriend making out with a guy at the school Halloween dance, which I guess is a thing.
That's a thing.
And he got like all pissed off at her and threw her phone into like nacho cheese, and she ran away. And it's like, oh, that's a way for them to make sure that she doesn't have a cell phone at the end of the movie to call the police while Michael Myers is attacking.
There you go.
Yeah.
Only my phone wasn't covered in nacho cheese.
Yeah. Delicious nacho cheese. I'm gonna eat that phone.
You're really getting excited for Thanksgiving dinner, aren't you?
Oh yeah. I just made my stuffing tonight. Oh, it was good.
Oh, nice. So anyway, getting back to the movie Dutch. Yeah, they're kind of up shit creek without a paddle. They got no money, so Dutch basically kind of gives up, and this is where they have that bondy moment where I mentioned that they bond over their collective horniness. So we're gonna call it bonding over your collective horniness. And so they start, kind of hitchhiking again.
Because it
There's
went so well.
There's some really weird fucking scenes in this thing. Like there's a scene where they encounter a bunch of security guards, and like Ethan Embry has to pretend to be a psychopath, which isn't hard.
Well, then Ed O'Neill has to as well, because he still has, as Brian mentioned earlier in the episode, the pellet gun that
Yes.
looks like a real gun. Yeah, Ed O'Neill pocketed that in the movie. And I will say this about John Hughes: I motherfucker, I hate you, and I'm not gonna say I'm sad you're dead, but you did know setup and payoff.
He really did.
Yeah, and like when I saw him put the pellet gun in his coat I'm like, well, that's gonna come back at
And it
least
does.
once, yeah, if not multiple times. Yeah,
It does. Yeah, Doyle has to like try to save them from getting beaten up by security guards. Which I'm like, one, it doesn't make any sense. Like they pushed them out of the like truck depot anyway. So like, what was the whole point? Like, just leave.
Yeah,
go. Like, you didn't have to have that scene at all.
See you later.
Yeah, no, that was it. Like they said, get out of here, and they got out, and then because the fact that I guess they pushed Doyle or some shit like that, or Dutch was just like, oh yeah, you can't push me around. It's like, well, dude, you're out of the guard place. Like, it makes no sense.
Set pieces and segments, Brian.
Yeah.
That's what 80% of this movie is. You got your first act, you got your third act, and you got segments and set pieces in between.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of, speaking of John Hughes' writing, and I adore this movie, is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
You have your first 20 minutes of that movie and your last 20 minutes, and in between is set pieces and segments. What can Clark fall on next?
It's still glorious though.
Oh, it is.
I watch that movie every year. I love it.
I think I would fall into a depression beyond repair if I didn't watch that every Christmas season.
Every Christmas season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not gonna go belabor that scene. It's a stupid scene. I don't know why it's in there. And honestly, it feels really like ham-fisted in there. Like they filmed it after the fact. Like they're we need to pad the runtime a bit more. So yeah, after that, they end up trying to go to a restaurant to wash up, and this is where Doyle gets to see like what it's really like what people who are without means, how they're treated, because he can't even like go use a bathroom without the restaurant attendant basically saying, we sometimes get these road people who come in off the street, so get out of here, even though it's a child, which in reality I can't see that happening.
Yeah, he's clearly a
It's a kid.
13-year-old kid who, like, good nutrition is giving him length to the bone. He's not homeless.
Well, that's not what I mean. I mean to the point of someone who works at a restaurant saying, "Get out of here! You can't use the bathroom," even though you're clearly bleeding from the head and you're a child. Like that wouldn't happen. Ever.
Hey, that's George Bush Sr.'s America. God damn it!
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And even children who are homeless and bleeding from the head, they aren't allowed rights in George Bush Sr.'s America.
1,000 points of blood.
God damn it. But yeah, so because of this, they the patrons of the restaurant overhear this and immediately, are still eating their dinner, because why not? Like, if it were me, I would just immediately get up and be like, fuck this place. We never show that, never see that, why would you eat at a restaurant where suddenly, like, the waitress is being a dick to two homeless people? It's just rude. But these two,
the omelets are to die for, Brian. You can't leave. Yeah.
Made out of baby's tears, I guess. But yeah, they take him to a displaced family shelter, and they again, Doyle gets to see how the other side actually lives, and how he gets that moment of appreciation for the economic situation he's in. Like, he gets to realize that not everyone is a working class bum, that life can hit you really hard sometimes, and it's not really anyone's fault. It's just, that's how life works sometimes. I like this section of the movie. I really do. And I think it does kind of play to like the heart of the film. But outside of just, the whole dynamic between Dutch and Doyle, but the whole appreciation of, the fact that there are, unfortunately, it's and I'm sure people who love our political statements on this show will love this, but that the economic system in the country kind of sucks.
I think trans people should have every rights as everybody else. I think a
I'm
woman
drinking
has the
water.
right to choose.
God damn it.
I believe in euthanasia. How many more other things can I upset people about? Right now?
I'm sure, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like I like this part.
Yeah.
I think it's done in a ham-fisted way, but I get why it's there.
But but the thing is, like, I do feel the kid was like, I'm gonna vandalize a vagrant. I'm gonna wreck a refuse. I'm gonna bum a bum. It's just kind of like he just like he does see kind of the error of his ways, but he also just wants to fuck. I mean, I guess he's 13. He's
13.
Yeah.
Can you blame him? That's literally on his mind 24/7, 365.
If because when I was 13, if there was a predator woman who was like 35 years old and went, "Hey, John, do you want to have sex?" I would have went, "Yes." I would not have hesitated because I was 13 and stupid and horny. I would not have realized that I was being taken advantage of by a predator. I would have been like, "Yahoo! Okay."
You would have sounded like Mario.
Here we go. And then
you're killing me.
And then I would have nutted in 10 seconds and went, "Mamma mia!"
Oh Jesus! I'm still dealing with COVID, right? It caused me to cough. Oh fucking hell!
Do the Mario.
No, not doing the Mario. Shit. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, the movie Dutch. Getting back on track here. We can try. After this whole situation of the homeless shelter, which I gotta mention one thing about this before we move on towards the end here, is the one thing I really dislike about the whole homeless shelter scene, and what I think is counter to everything that it tries to build up, is the scene where he is eating dinner and doing it in the most rich person fucker way possible. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's got got all of his forks and knives and the spoons and everything, and he's like polishing it before he eats it. And I'm like, everything that you're building up for me about trying to understand how everyone else in the world is, and that you are privileged to the nth degree, is kind of undercut by that scene where he is like doing all of the things with his food. What'd you think, John?
I think it was one last haha, look at this kid, like he's learning, but he still doesn't know a world outside of his own experience. Like, not to be forgiving of it, because I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you, but I think it was almost kind of like everybody else is like elbowing, like, look at this guy, he thinks he's got his salad fork and his dinner fork, and and he's acting like it's fine china when he's in a slop house of homeless feeding, so
it's not even a
words.
slop house, it's just a cafeteria, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
And what I guess my problem is that it comes somewhat after the fact, where he starts to like realize how the other half lives, and it doesn't feel like it fits well. Maybe if it was before everything, or if maybe there was another sequence where he was at a diner and he was doing all that, then it would make more sense. Like the diner sequence early in the movie.
Yeah.
I could see that being there. But when we get to this part in the movie, it just doesn't feel like it fits with
Well-
where this character's at this point.
Well, and I've heard like John Hughes, like for example, like I think it was like Home Alone, he wrote in like 8 days or something like that.
Sounds about right.
And it's just like, and all I could say is allegedly cocaine is a hell of a drug. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
And I wonder, he probably pumped this script out like as fast as humanly possible as well, and probably missed like the detail that you're describing right now. But the thing is, it doesn't just end at the script writing process. Like, a movie there's 3 movies: the one that's written, the one that's shot, and the one that's edited. And you would think that on set they maybe would have gone something like, maybe he starts to go to polish his fork and he looks at like Ed O'Neill, and Ed kind of gives him a like a look like, and he goes, yeah, you're right, like, know where you are, and know, and like kind of without even saying it, like puts the fork down and waits for his food to come, and kind of lives like the everyday riffraff like the rest of us.
Yeah. I just it just felt it stuck out like a sore thumb. Like that's kind of my old take on it, is that it doesn't seem like that's where this character is when they do that gag. And that's what it is. It's a gag, right? It's just
Yeah.
it's there for yucks. You're supposed to laugh at it. Now getting towards the end of the film, you mentioned that early in the episode that Doyle had tried to call his dad, because apparently his dad's in London, but in reality, he really was just being Shooter McGavin with some random woman.
Clapping cheeks.
Yeah, a lot of that. But during this call, the random woman says, "Oh, some kid was on the phone," and Shooter, above all else, really loves the fact that he can stick it to his ex-wife by stealing Doyle from him. Like, really enjoys that. Like, more so than what should be there.
Rich people are evil.
Well, just the fact that he gets pleasure from causing emotional suffering of this level to the mother of his child, even though he wants nothing to do with him and clearly is just using him as a pawn in manipulation. Granted, I've seen that.
And I think he's old money, because there's a very much.
Oh yeah,
a
he's
big
totally
difference
old
between
money.
Old money is compared to new money.
Yeah.
And I would think it was one of the only thoughtful things that the movie Titanic ever presented, because like Kate Winslet's mom hated the unsinkable Molly Brown because they were old money and she was new money.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
he seems like he has that vindictive trait of old money.
He gets pleasure out of holding things over, Joe Beth Williams. And yeah, so as soon as he realized that Doyle had called, he realizes that, oh crap, I have to try to save my one piece of manipulation I have over her. So he immediately gets back to her house, Joe Beth Williams' house, Natalie's house, and surprises her by trying to be there to pick up Doyle when he arrives. Sure enough, Dutch and Doyle do arrive, but Doyle realizes that his dad is a piece of fucking shit, which, good job.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Yeah, no, it very much is a welcome to the party, pal type thing. Like, you just realized that. Like, okay. I get it. He's a kid. And I get it that, at that age, you might not understand the dynamics of your parents' divorce. I do. Seeing that scene, I'm like, I see parallels in my own life growing up. That I'm just
when
like,
you're younger, you have a blind side to your parents' faults. Like, it's not till you get older you go, huh, that was fucked up what they did, or he did.
Yeah,
or he
no,
did,
that's very much the case. I mean, I personally, I mentioned this before. I grew up in a house where my parents did get divorced, and at the time, I know, no doubt, and this is getting deep stuff here, folks. I thought it was normal for your parents to yell and scream. I thought it was normal. I thought for the longest time that was how, your mom and dad are supposed to talk, is by yelling and screaming at all hours of the night.
Yeah, I grew up thinking that it was normal for your parents to have a deep-seated contempt for one another.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's like the
Yeah.
contempt was there, and your parents won't talk to each other
I'm like,
other
is that
than the
marriage?
screaming.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was normal, and
Yeah.
that's why, like, when I bring up Doyle kind of not seeing that his dad is a fucking piece of shit, that's a real thing because you don't know any better. And on top of that, like when families go through divorce, the kids, you know, they might not see the reality. And I Joe Beth Williams probably is going to be like, yeah, your dad's a fucking piece of shit who cheated on me, dumped me off the curb. Because see, obviously it's still his dad. You don't want to be like, yeah, your dad's an asshole. You want the kid to realize that on his own, which in this movie he does.
And I'll give my mom a lot of credit in that sense. Like, I've realized over time, while he did have some good traits, like my dad was pretty much a selfish piece of shit. And she let me come to that realization myself.
Yeah.
And I thank her for that. It wasn't one of those situations where one parent like plays mind games to turn you against the other. I didn't have that in my household, but yeah.
See, my thing was my dad I didn't have to have mind games because I clearly saw the pain that was being done. And, as being older, I see more now than I saw back then. But, just realizing that it's not normal for your parents to yell and scream at each other.
Mhm.
And that's how they communicate. It's not normal for your parents to not talk for hours at
Yeah.
all. Like, be in the same room and no talking at all. That's not right.
For me, and like this is weird. It's almost turned into a therapy session.
Not trying
But-
to.
Yeah,
Not
no,
trying
no.
to.
But I mean, like, we're talking about the themes of the movie. Is that my dad was a good-looking, charismatic manipulator. So I couldn't see the forest through the trees quite a bit from him until I got older and went, hey, that wasn't right. Hey, that was weird. Hey, that was strange.
Yeah.
And then like almost all the things he taught me about the world, I'm like, that's not correct. So
Yeah.
but yeah, and I do love that Dutch solves the problem of Shooter McGavin being there through domestic violence.
Oh yeah. Well, clearly he's a psychopath. We've said this before. The whole episode, Dutch is a psychopath. That is the title of this episode, by the way. Dutch is a psychopath because he everything has been through that lens of, oh, you're an asshole, so I'm going to punch you in the face with my ring. Now, clearly, the audience is watching this. We're like, yeah, fucking punch him in the face.
Yeah, because it's a movie. Yeah, like, fuck
It's a
Shooter
movie.
McGavin. Yeah.
It's a movie, and he's Shooter McGavin. But at the same time, you're like, what does that do at all for the situation? Congratulations, you punched him in the fucking face. Natalie's still going to lose her house. Like, you haven't solved that part.
I think that the movie in its saccharine nonsense is supposed to you're supposed to infer that like because Dutch punched him, he's gonna see the error of his ways or something, which is so stupid. But I think
it really is stupid because he's still a dick.
yeah,
He's just a dick with
vindictive dick.
He's a vindictive dick who quite literally, once he comes out of his stupor, is gonna sue or just at most prosecute Dutch for assault.
Yeah, well, it reminds me. It is like a bizarre statement, but I swear I'll bring it around. It reminds me of Suburban Commando. The scene that they even showed in the trailers where like Hulk Hogan is doing a promo, Suburban Commando, like, let me guess, you all ripped me apart, brother, and like does this whole big monologue. He goes, dude, this is the 90s. We're gonna sue you.
Yes.
Like, yeah, he would have called the police immediately on his cell phone
because he
because,
has one.
he's rich. He has one of those giant block cell phones.
Yeah.
Would have called the police, and then he would have pressed charges and then sued the fuck out of Dutch.
Yeah. But that's the reality. Instead, what we get is everything's great. We get Thanksgiving dinner because, of course, and we get the conclusion of an arc that we didn't really talk too much about. So at the beginning of this film, all the way back in the dorm room, Doyle had shot Dutch in the dick.
Yeah,
He shot him in the dick, in the balls.
Dutch has a ruptured testicle, by the way. What
He
is
does.
it? Is it testicular hematoma? I can't remember the proper name.
It's a busted ball bag.
Yeah,
That's what that is.
and if you don't treat a ruptured testicle, it will create a virus through your body that will kill you. So Dutch is probably dead from a ruptured testicle that gave him
Gangrene
a
on his
flu that
nuts.
murdered him. Yeah.
He's got gangrene on his nuts at this point. But yeah, he shot in the dick by Doyle with a pellet gun, which a pellet gun is going to hurt. Like it
Yeah.
And especially if you're hitting the balls. Like
Testicular hematoma.
Yeah. So the whole time through the entire movie, he's like, you know what? I owe you one for shooting me in the dick. I'm going to shoot you in the ass. And the whole time you're like, oh yeah, he's not really going to shoot a kid. That's kind of horrible. Remember, Dutch is a psychopath. And
at Thanksgiving dinner, he pulls a gun out in front of the kid's mother and shoots him
in the ass.
Yeah. And she doesn't know that it's a pellet gun. He literally just pulls a gun out at Thanksgiving dinner and shoots the kid
in the ass. Yes.
Now that I mentioned testicular hematoma, I'm trying to think of any John Hughes movie that I've seen that doesn't have someone getting hit in the balls. Both Home Alones.
Yeah. Right.
Christmas Vacation, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yep.
I think John Hughes just has a thing about men being hit in the testicles. He must have a fetish.
It's funny. And don't get me wrong. Like, again, when I was a kid and I watched this movie, I thought it was hilarious.
Dick Kick City's funny.
Yeah. And I thought the scene when he gets shot, when Doyle gets shot in the ass, I think that's funny too. But thinking about it as a grown up, I gotta go back to like, why would you as a grown man think that I'm gonna pull out a gun on Thanksgiving Day in front of my girlfriend and shoot her kid in the ass after we just like got our relationship all like secured and shit and like we're on good terms? Do you think that Natalie is going to want to stay with a man who shoots her kid in the ass?
Well, you know what I think it is? You know how, Brian, you and I have mentioned that for some reason in 80s horror movies, sometimes there are guys dressed like 50s greasers.
Yes.
And it's because like that the directors of those films, those are the bullies they grew up with like 30 years ago.
Are you saying that John Hughes grew up with people who brought guns to Thanksgiving dinner and shot them in the ass?
I'm saying that like I think a lot of working class people in say like the 40s and 50s. Well, John Hughes was born in 1950, I believe. So let's say John Hughes was 13 in 1963 because math checks out. Is that maybe the working class people that he based Dutch's character on, the people that were alive when Kennedy, before he took a bullet, were maybe their ideas of making a man out of a boy were back assward, but he doesn't realize it. Possibly.
I guess so.
Because I've heard from so many boomers that they said when they were growing up, they had that one uncle in the family that everyone said, don't leave the kids alone with Uncle fill in the blank. And I'm like, so everybody in the family knew that this guy was a child molester, and they invited him to every family gathering. It was just like, just make sure he's not alone in the room with any of the kids. I'm like, that's fucking madness.
I have heard that too.
Yeah,
I have heard that too.
So, it was probably, that upbringing of like, well, if a kid can't swim, throw him in the deep end and he'll learn to swim or drown. So maybe it was that kind of like, working class person that John Hughes knew in the 1960s, and he brought it into the 1990s, and it just didn't age very well. I don't know.
I mean, all I know is just like I know it's there for yucks, and you're there to laugh at it, go like, ah, ha, ha, see, the little fucker got it in the ass anyway.
Call
And-
back.
Yeah, and it's just like, again, maybe I'm just too old for the movie Dutch. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem. Or maybe like my own personal, like, lived experiences seen now through this movie, which that's how movies work, folks.
Wait, speaking of other John Hughes movies, I just thought the other day that Home Alone 2, if you want, here's a possible, like, one of those like really bad descriptions of a movie.
Yeah.
That two grown men try to murder a child for 2.5 hours.
I mean, you're not wrong.
And I'm like, that it's kind of really fucked up that they were taking Macaulay Culkin to Central Park to shoot him in the back of the head.
Oh yeah, they were going to totally kill him.
And I'm like, this is, I mean, twice early in the movie when he squeezes a lady's butt to get away. And then at the end of the movie, they take him to Central Park again to shoot him. Like, this is kind of fucked. If you really think about it,
Yeah.
at least the tone is like, oh, Marv turns into a skeleton. So don't think too hard about like the underlying themes that this is suggesting,
The scene where Marv turns into a skeleton is glorious. I don't care what anyone says.
John Hughes loves his skeleton.
I still laugh every single time that happens. I don't care. I know it's ridiculous and over the top, but it's still fucking hilarious.
That's when you realize that you are watching Looney Tunes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean it. Especially Home Alone 2. Home Alone 2 is more Looney Tunes than any of them.
Well, I look at the gags, for insider term, in Home Alone 1, and I'm like, okay, most of these, if you really, really stretch, your believability, they could survive these things. But in Home Alone 2, Marv gets a brick to the fucking face.
He gets a couple bricks to the face.
That's the first, like,
That's
gag.
the first gag.
And it's just like, oh, okay, all logic is out the window.
Well, I think my favorite habit is the the flamethrower. Multiple flamethrowers is funny. But the tool chest that falls down the stairs. Yeah. Yeah. And that's my favorite outside of the Marv gets turned into a skeleton. That is best scene in the whole fucking movie. I don't care. Marv gets turned into. I remember as a kid we would fast forward through the tape to get to that part. That's how it worked. But yeah, just to kind of wrap things up. John, final thoughts on Dutch.
I mean, I hate to just go back to my opening gag, but I really do think that this is Wish.com, Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. I think that for all the original ideas that John Hughes was able to create, and the man wrote like 3,019.7 scripts, is that if you even look at the ones he didn't produce, like I think he wrote like something like 9 to 12 screenplays that never even saw the light of day.
Wow.
Is that you can't get there without copying yourself sometimes. And, I mean, he copied himself with Home Alone 2, and then he copied Home Alone 2 for Home Alone 3, and then he copied Home Alone 3 with Baby's Day Out.
Love Baby's Day Out. I don't care if it's bad, but it's still good.
And he did it under a pseudonym, but he actually, people don't notice, he wrote every Beethoven movie.
No shit.
Yeah, he the main character from the Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
I can't remember the character's name, but that was his pseudonym that he wrote the Beethoven movies, and he wrote a lot of movies actually under that pseudonym.
Wow.
And those are just the same. It's Beethoven again, following the pattern. So, and I think that he saw like, okay, I need another road trip movie. I apparently have a boner for Thanksgiving. I'll just copy Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but I'll make all the necessary changes. And so, and I mean, like, look, I'm not saying this movie is entertaining. Not that I didn't get some yucks, but I really do feel that like he just used his Mad Libs cheat sheet of, Steve Martin and John Candy, Dutch and little boy, are in a car that explodes, or in a car that does this, like, and you know,
Yeah. I mean, my final thoughts are I still find joy out of watching this movie despite my criticism of it. Um, it is a fun watch if you don't think too hard about it. That's basically it. I appreciate the fact that it does try to hit on some themes that are pretty heavy, especially for a movie that, at the time, there really weren't a whole lot of films that were talking about divorce. Now, yeah, it's wacky and goofy,
Yeah.
but, you got to figure like 1991, there weren't movies talking about divorce. There weren't movies talking about like what happens after the divorce. It's always like, this is the marriage falling apart.
3 years before Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right. That's what I mean. Is I think Mrs. Doubtfire, even though it's got some issues, I mean, it does.
Yeah.
It tries to talk about divorce and the effects of divorce on children and the effects of divorce on the parents, and it does it in a way that I think is a bit more successful than this one. But I appreciate that it does try to do that. I appreciate that it does try to give an economic message that I think is still relevant, and I think it's funny. It's a funny movie if you don't think too hard about it. If you try to like be like, wait a minute, does that part really make sense? If you do that, you're gonna have a bad time. If you go in basically being like, I want to turn my brain off and watch a silly movie about two people in a car for 2 hours, it's a good time. It's a good Thanksgiving movie, I think. But to your point, John, yeah, it is a paint by numbers.
Which, now that you say that, a good Thanksgiving movie, I want to reach out. I want to reach out to you, Psychos Nation audience, and through any of our social medias, including our Discord channel.
The Discord channel.
I was just thinking earlier today, I'm like, fuck, Brian and I are running out of Thanksgiving movies
We are.
to talk about every year.
Well, we were
So-
going to do Thanksgiving, the movie, but unfortunately, COVID,
Which was pretty good.
and then I
Yeah.
really want to do it. The COVID, and then on top of that, like just life became too kind of crazy over the weekend to go out and to the theater to see it. We're going to get it though.
Yeah, I have no children. Brian has 4. So
have 4.
yeah, I have a lot more freedom than this poor son of a bitch does. But yeah, on any of our social media, including Discord, like, please let us know of your favorite Thanksgiving movies that we could maybe talk about in further years, because I'm trying to think of what Thanksgiving movies to do moving forward. Because and for any of you that are just listening to this episode but haven't listened to Backlog, we've done Blood Rage, we've done other slasher Thanksgiving movies, we've done Addams Family 2, we've done Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So what's left for us?
We're kind of
Tell
coming
us.
up short, for next
Yeah.
year.
Please tell us if there's a gem that we're missing.
I'm trying to think of one. I don't know. I really I don't know.
That's why you, the people,
That's why you're the people.
reach
The
out to
people.
us. The choice is yours.
people.
The choice is yours. Tell us what you want.
Yeah. But good episode. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the family, but also don't put up with any shit from your crazy
please don't.
Republican uncle. If he says something racist, call him out. But also have some fun. Watch the Lions lose. Watch all the weird balloons in the parade. Watch the dog show. I just got a dog who is a German Shepherd elk hound mix. So for the first time in my fucking life, I'm actually going to care when they mention the elk hound in the dog show. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of fun to be had. But yeah, don't let family bring you down.
No, I mean it's a double-edged sword sometimes, because you feel like you have to like put on a face of like, oh yeah, I want to be in front of the family all the time, and you want to especially people, the extended family that maybe you don't see all the time, and you really like, I don't agree with half the shit they post on Facebook. You know, you don't have to do that. You know, you can very easily be like, listen, I'm not gonna put on a fake face for family. Be you, that sort of thing. And just, know when to walk away from those difficult arguments.
You know who's really under attack in this country? White men.
Yeah, that's the kind of argument I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's the kind of one you just be like, okay, pass the pumpkin pie and the liquor, if that's your deal. But no, seriously, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, especially those who, our international audience be like, what the fuck? It's just Thursday. But okay.
Even our Canadian audience, which I know
they'll get it.
They're like, we already had our Thanksgiving.
Yeah. John, where can they find you at on the internets?
Over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and over on Jay Does Video Nasties. I'm gonna delay this one because it's basically ready to go until after Thanksgiving, because it is an essay on how white flight into the suburbs changed the horror haunted house film. And I'm thinking like, yeah, that doesn't sound like Thanksgiving. So I'm just going to wait till the week after Thanksgiving to release that one.
Smart move. Probably a smart move there. That'll be an interesting one to watch, because I know I can see where it absolutely is. You can find me at Brian Coddington on the Twitter. I'm also on the Psycho Show page. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Psycho Show. As I mentioned before, we do have a Discord channel where I really am trying to pump this thing up. So, I've been asking behind the scenes questions on Discord. I'm kind of really using that as our primary means of getting engagement from you. So, if you like what we're talking about here, or if you just want to pitch ideas to us, or even just want to talk more about episodes and see kind of what we're planning next. John, I put up our entire schedule of what we've got planned for the rest of the holiday season up on Discord. But our Discord channel, the link for it is in the description of this episode. On top of that, we are trying to do some more videos. So we've got a TikTok at Cinema Psycho Show. Follow us there. I want to hit 1,000 by the end of the year, John. We're at 800 something. I really want to get us across the board there.
Before the clock strikes 12
on
New Year's Eve, we need to hit 1,000.
We need to hit 1,000.
We need you.
We need you.
Dear people.
Dear people.
Help us.
So yeah, with that being said, we're going to try to put more videos up there, and try to incorporate more video into our podcast workflow, which is good for you all if you like seeing our faces. If you don't, I'm sorry. Outside of that, you can reach out to us at cinemapsychoshow.com. Send us an email, or check out our back catalog. And of course, follow us wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can head over to cinemapsychoshow.com/follow and find your podcast player where you can subscribe to us and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. And we will see you next time.
Gobble, gobble, motherfuckers. I'll say, have fun. Eat merry, be merry. We love you, and we'll see you next time.
Eat merry, John.
Yeah, eat Mary Swanson from Dumb and Dumber. But yeah, enjoy your food, enjoy your family, have a blast. We love you.
We love you.
We'll see you next time.